Sam, episode 14. Man, we were knocking these episodes out.
It's crazy. I mean, it's amazing. I've even been hit up saying, "Hey, I downloaded your podcast," and I'm like, "Wow, that's like the fifth person that's downloaded it so far. It's amazing."
You found the 5? That's really good.
I found the 5. That's it.
Well, no, I'm excited to be on here. We keep rolling these out. Really excited to have Marc Crudgington and Kyle Lai on here. Marc and Kyle are, well, I mean, first and foremost, old friends of ours. We've known them from the industry for a long time, but also they are running our EXEC.SEC.CON, our new spinoff conference from HOU.SEC.CON. So, Marc and Kyle, welcome.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Great to be here.
Great to have you. So today this is episode 14, but for everybody who's listening, you're used to getting a news segment. We're going to jump into, after the HOU.SEC.CON segment, we're going to jump right into talking to Marc and Kyle, let them introduce themselves, what they're doing these days, give them a little bit of history, and then we'll get into what they're doing with EXEC.SEC.CON. But before we do that, let's give another quick update. So Sam, I know we've got call for papers coming up in not too long.
Yep, that's May 1st. So put that on your calendar. We're going to have a 30-day window, basically. So for the month of May, we'll leave that open, but then we're going to wrap it up so that we can start announcing speakers early enough so people can be informed much earlier as to what that agenda will look like. So only a tight window this year as opposed to the 2 months we've done before, and a little earlier, but hopefully should give everybody a much better perspective, especially as we grow with the amount of attendance at the conference this year.
Yep. And we've got more room this year, I think, from a track perspective too. We've got more space. So we've got more stuff to fill up. So get your talks in soon so because we can start pouring through those quicker and get the whole agenda filled up a lot quicker as well. So that's specifically for HOU.SEC.CON. So just so everybody knows on here, the speaking slots for HOU.SEC.CON and EXEC.SEC.CON are being curated specifically. HOU.SEC.CON by Sam and others, and then EXEC.SEC.CON with Marc and Kyle. They're doing that. We're doing that for a reason this first year, to try to get some specialized talks that we want to see as we grow this. We've got a particular vision in that. Next year probably, or year after that, maybe we'll get a true call for papers with those. But right now those are curated. So the call for papers that Sam and I are talking about is specifically for HOU.SEC.CON. Speaking of that, we talked about it on the last conference, but remember, if while the talks are getting curated, the attendees are also being curated, because we're trying to get specialized folks in these and not have it inundated by people that are outside those industries or salespeople trying to sell things. We want to focus on that, and that's no offense to salespeople. You got to sell, but that's just what we want to maintain, that list and curate it. So if you have been accepted for that, if you've gone in and put your application and we've sent you something to be accepted, you have a link that you need to Eventbrite that you need to click and register. It is a 2-step process. So please make sure that if you got the acceptance, you go in and click that Eventbrite link and register for those events as well. That's also the same for the user group, which starts, the first one's on the end of February 29th. So please make sure, if you got accepted for those, that you also go register. If you show up at the door and you haven't registered and you think you're attending, and we're going to have a bad time. So please don't do that. And we'll send out reminders to everyone who got accepted on email and stuff as well. So anything else, Sam?
Yeah, and still have sponsorships available for HOU.SEC.CON. Yep. We still have a couple slots open for HOU.SEC.CON as well, if you are in the OT space and would like to support this initial effort. We're still looking for a handful of sponsors to do this. And so, we can reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with our sponsor wrangler and let him, or send the prospectus over, and really appreciate the sponsors that have stepped up already to support our community. So.
Absolutely. And we'll have ongoing sponsorship offers for the user group, which we just do one for each one of those. I think one or maybe two, but generally just one. So if you want to sponsor one of those are going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about that first one coming up on the 29th. So I think that's it, unless you got anything else, Sam. For
That is it. Let's start talking about
Let's-
CISO stuff. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yes.
So EXEC.SEC.CON. So if you haven't been to HOU.SEC.CON, first of all, shame on you. No, not really. I'm to HOU.SEC.CON this year, but for years we've done like what we said, a traditional call for papers, that kind of stuff. But what we did a couple of kind of specially curated, also with CFP mixed in there, tracks. One was the OT/ICS track, which Sam has been heavily involved in. And then we had the CISO track, whatever you want to call it, that Mark started. We just did our second year last year, right?
Third year.
Third year.
That's right. Third, yeah.
We had 2021 coming out of COVID.
Yep, that's right. That was the first one. So what we decided to do, while we're going to keep those tracks within HOU.SEC.CON proper in our flagship conference, we also decided to spin those out into their own conferences, their own events, albeit smaller, starting out. And one of those, obviously, is EXEC.SEC.CON. And I've explained it a couple of times. You can go back and see some of our videos in social media, but this is especially strategy type, curated type stuff. We'll get into the weeds on that after Mark and Kyle talk about what they've been doing in their careers and stuff. But Mark and Kyle, I think you stepped up last year to help out and got really big involved in it. And so we said, hey, Mark, Kyle, do you want to start your own thing? They said, yeah, let's do it. And we're going to have fun. But again, before we dig all into that, I would love to start, Mark, if it's okay. I'd like to start with you and then talk to Kyle. Kind of give us quick synopsis of what you're doing now, and then kind of what led you to being at the kind of executive strategy risk level type of conversations in the industry.
Sure. Yeah, I have an extensive background in IT and technology over 30 years. If you go back to my time in the Air Force, and spent a good while in the Silicon Valley, about 10 years, just kind of moving up and moving around at various large technology companies, infrastructure companies, and moved to Southern California, where I ended up in Big Four for a little while, then landed my first stint in a CISO role. Came back to Houston for family reasons, and landed at Woodforest National Bank in the CISO role there. Spent 9 years there, and in that time I started my own company and ventured out on my own for a little while with that full time. It didn't appeal to me. Went back into industry as a CISO. So that was my third stint as a CISO, and that lasted for about a year, and then I stepped away from that role, and we're still keeping Cyber4, the company I have, going, but currently I'm seeking, and I believe maybe I'll have some great news by the end of this month. So
Ooh.
Fantastic news, in fact.
Ooh, sounds like we've got a
Teaser
scoop here.
Oh, look at that.
We may have a scoop. 99.99% sure we have a scoop. And
Awesome.
all the things I support in the industry, mentoring, all that. I've written 2 books, as you all know. The latest one came out in the last day of November, and really the release was that's the first book. So the release was party was in early December, and it's actually was Amazon #1 new release, and also Amazon #1 bestseller. So it's doing great. The publisher actually wants to go global distribution with it, so we're doing some design on that, and so it'll be out there for 40,000 plus bookstores, or where books are sold, and even libraries and all that, to be picked up. So excited about that.
And I'll humbly say that was a fantastic book. mainly because I was in it as well.
Yeah. So
if I may be so humble. No, I was really honored to be a part of that one. The launch of that has been fantastic. I mean, you got pictures of you out there at the NASDAQ screen in New York City and everything else, and looking all dapper with your scarf on and everything. It was really, really cool.
yeah, it was a great experience, and it continues. I mean, they continue to want me to do things, and they want me to do a TED Talk and all kinds of things. So,
Very good stuff. Well, thanks for the rundown on that, Mark. That gives us a really good background. And mainly I wanted people on here to see that are going to go to EXEC.SEC.CON. If they're not familiar with you, they know your background and know that you've got the credentials to be putting something like this on. You're talking to those at that same level. So really appreciate you running through that. And we'll include a link to the book also in the show notes for everybody to go check that out. So, all right. Well, thank you, sir. Kyle, why don't you do the same thing for us? I know you've got some whole lot of risk and maturity stuff that you do, and you run your own shop.
Yep.
And you and I met years ago when I was at Fortify HPE when you were doing stuff for a
Yes.
mutual customer.
Yeah.
So what's your background there, sir?
And I was a speaker at 2013 HOU.SEC.CON. So
Oh, yep. That's
yep.
true. Golly, you're old school.
Yep.
Old
So-
school.
yeah, so really excited to be involved with the EXEC.SEC.CON, with the HOU.SEC.CON again. So so my background, so I start out as a software developer and got into security. So start out as a penetration testing, really enjoyed it. So developed a tool. I don't know, people that or in the Windows may heard of SMAC, MAC address changer. So developed that tool back in 2003. So that was for changing MAC address. It was fun. It was during the
Very
time
cool.
when Wi-Fi was just out and there were no encryption. MAC address filtering was the security. So those were fun days. So that's why when I started get more into the security. So throughout my career, I've been the security advisor for several Fortune 500 companies. But then I will get into more on the IT audit, right? Different compliance audit, third-party risk management. That was what I involved a lot. Did a lot of them on behalf of the banks and financial institutions. So also was a CISO for one of the Blackstone subsidiary and the Brandeis University Heller School. So right now, I'm the president of my own company and also CISO KLC Consulting. So my focus right now is to help the defense contractors in their cybersecurity compliance, the defense cybersecurity compliance. That's a cybersecurity maturity model certification, the CMMC. So I'm one of the CMMC certified assessor. So my role is to help them build something so they can comply with the CMMC and NIST 800-171, and also in the future we'll be conducting the assessment, giving out the certification if they pass. So what I see is that the reason I really want to get involved with the EXEC.SEC.CON is that I see that Houston is actually pretty spread out, and there are actually a lot of talented CISOs, and we just don't have that real good bonding yet. And I think throughout this conference and maybe some activities that can sponsor by EXEC.SEC.CON and with help with HOU.SEC.CON, I think we can bring the CISO community, security executive community closer, and build a more closer, friendly relationships so we can ping each other, because it's a stressful job, right? And we actually have to pick each other's brains sometimes, and it will be a good community to build.
And I appreciate that. So I want to ask you so I know you've since presented a couple of times at HOU.SEC.CON, more specifically around like CMMC and those kind of things. What's the difference in the talks you're doing now versus the one you did back in 2013?
Back in 2013, my talk was on the third-party risk management. Yeah, so third-party risk management, supply chain risk management. And CMMC, we are addressing the defense industry, cybersecurity, supply chain as well. So in terms of the industry has changed, but in terms of the talk, I think it's somewhat still related, I'll say, because we're still addressing the supply chain issues and supply chain security risk issues. It's still there, even 10, 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
has get a little bit better, but with all the AI that's coming, it's going to be worse, getting worse before we get better.
That's amazing that's become a really hot topic in the last 3 or 4 years, but you were talking about it way back then. So I'm going to venture to say that you were a visionary, Kyle. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you've been very kind. Yeah, thank you.
Well, no, but I mean, what you were doing from a software security perspective, I mean, that was a big topic back in the day, and it just wasn't a broader topic because not everybody was so much focused on development as they are now. So good to see, even back then. All right, well, guys, Sam, you got any questions at this point for the?
No, not specific. I guess I'd like to talk a little bit, and hear both from Kyle and Mark about, EXEC.SEC.CON and kind of the, the underlying goal and mission of this conference of what we're trying to accomplish, and kind of, make sure that folks know what we're, why, first, why we're vetting folks, that are registering. Like, I think that's an important piece of this. And I think Mark, but one of you touched on it just briefly about, getting ideas off each other in your network, right? So if, maybe Mark, if you want to start with that, like where do you see this going?
Sure. Yeah, like Michael said earlier, this kind of spawned from HOU.SEC.CON, and I think when I came to you guys, I was like, hey, how come you guys don't have a CISO track? And you mentioned some things to me, and then I said, well, I'll wrangle up some people. I'll be the CISO wrangler, and get some
That's
people
what
to the
happens
track.
when you talk to us about ideas. You get wrangled
Yeah,
in to be one of the volunteers.
that's right.
That's a good thing. So
And
appreciate it.
so that's growing, and it's doing well, and we open it up to non-CISOs last time. But we really wanted to have a very bespoke type conference for executives, specifically CISOs, those that are in that role, and there'll be some CIOs that join in as well. But a lot of the executive conferences that you go to like that, quite often it's vendors that are speaking. We wanted to curate this for topics that CISOs want to hear based on our knowledge of and our peers, but really have them participate as well. And so we are doing the CISO panel. We've got some great keynotes lined up, some great discussions that we think are top of mind for CISOs right now, looking to the present day with some of the issues that we face in the industry, but also some of the technologies and other things that CISOs are thinking about now, and specifically around a board seat or what's coming down the pipeline from technology to help us mitigate the risk we face. So when Kyle and I have known each other for a while, and we've talked about doing something like this, and we've always kind of been in touch, walking the same line together on these types of things. And then, Michael, you and I have talked about this a number of times, but we truly believe that. I think that Kyle touched on it about the need for CISOs to get together and not just collaborate at a conference, but we want to make this kind of like a tent that everybody can gather under. But then when we go away from the conference, we can touch base with one another on issues. So and then also continue with some networking events and other things that are part of the HOU.SEC.CON brand, and really branch out, happy hours, dinners, those kind of things that we're we're all staying in touch with one another and just build out this community to a tighter knit community that we already are.
I wanted to just point something out real quick too, just so for listeners, we're not, while we are vetting that or cultivating that list and making sure we have the right people in the room. The CISO track has always been, or the CISO track at HOU.SEC.CON has always been open to anybody. So if you're looking to climb into that role and learn more, like you're on the path to become, director, security, CISO, any of that kind of stuff, you can still be in that track, right? And it's not to say there may be opportunities here at the same thing. You don't have to have that CISO title. If that's your strategy and that's what you're planning, that's part of your role, then please come to EXEC.SEC.CON as well, right? And please go ahead and apply, right? And so I just want to make sure that's clear.
No, I think that's a great point, Sam, because I mean and I do want to point out, I don't see them as competition, but I don't want to bash other conferences as well. I mean, to Mark's point, a lot of those higher levels they're just vendors there talking, and it's not interactive conversation. Some of them do that. They tend to be just a happy hour or a lunch and learn type of thing. And we're trying to put a whole day of this together. But to that point, a lot of what those other conferences do is they make you meet a certain, like a revenue level of your company to be like $1 billion above. That is not what we're trying to do. We've literally got people from very small ISDs around Houston coming who have a whole nother set of problems, but there's probably, if it was a true revenue target, they'd probably never ever meet that. So we're not trying to create that kind of environment. We're trying to create a true collaboration environment. So it's a great point, Sam.
Yeah, and I will say, I want to piggyback off of what Sam said about HOU.SEC.CON. We actually encourage non-CISOs or those that are in that role to come to the CISO track, just because there may be mentoring opportunities, learning opportunities, and we're always, CISOs that are in that role and really cutting edge. We're always looking to mentor people or learn from them as well what their concerns are, but also elevate the next generation. So
HOU.SEC.CON specifically is that the CISOs don't sit down in that little room either. They go up and go to the village. They go to the other tracks. I mean, they just don't sit down there and act like an ivory tower, right? It's really a collaborative environment all the way around. So,
and I want to just add, just on top of what Mark has mentioned, is that we are really putting this program together from CISO's perspective, right? So what CISOs will be interested in seeing, understanding what's the trend. So we actually got the CISA, DHS, the Homeland Security CISA, to come in to give us a keynote, right? So they can actually give us perspective in terms of what's going on right now. What should CISOs pay attention, executives pay attention to, not just CISOs, but CIO, security executives, right? And also, all right, what kind of technology trends are hot, or what is the industry going? What are some of the technologies that we have to pay attention to? So we got the VC, the venture capital panel, so they can talk about the technologies they are paying attention to and they're investing in, so we can actually see, okay, so what are the areas that we should pay attention to, or what are the challenges that CISOs are facing? So they're looking for those opportunities in the companies they're trying to solve these problems.
And we're going to get more. I mean, we've got the bones of the agenda stood up on the site now. I think maybe by the time this gets published, we'll have more of that. And some of the speakers we've got coming in are pretty dang impressive. I'm really excited about. Well, they're all impressive. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's like the industry names that everybody are going to know. But again, it's not from an aspect of trying to get a bunch of people in there so we can make our sponsors happy. These are people that are going to come in and get real good information, real good data, their perspectives. I love the idea about the VC panel because that's something that the CISOs and security decision makers need to know about. They need to know how that runs. I've learned that over the last few years about VC stuff since I entered back into a reseller mode and got into that executive level of dealing with startups. There's a whole world that people don't realize that goes on in that group, with that group of folks. And it's really good for knowing how that, how that works if you're a CISO, because it can help with decision making for that. That's really, I love that idea. That was a great idea. CISA coming in is great. I mean, everybody's wants to know how the government's. There've been a lot of great panels or Senate hearings here lately about some of that stuff. We talked about one on the last podcast. So there's a lot coming out of that. Jen Easterly is extremely active right now, doing some really good stuff. She's also fumbled her words a couple of times and blamed developers for stuff, and people are jumping on her. So it's a really cool back and forth. Jen's not coming, unfortunately. Would love that, but she's not going to be there this one. But we'll get her eventually, right, Sam?
Yeah, she was booked. That's why. But yeah.
But we do have one of the regional chief of cybersecurity.
We do. Our regional chief, so the top guy in this region, which is a fairly big region.
Yep.
So we're excited about that. Great speaker. We're actually going to do a fireside chat with him. So
that should be
awesome. Yeah.
I'm super excited about this whole track, and I think it's going to be great. Again, conversational. And part of the agenda too, what we wanted to do is build out time for the networking, for the CISOs and the executives and everybody in there to meet each other. So we're not just going to inundate you with death by PowerPoint from top to bottom. You're going to have some time. We know everybody in those roles are busy. They're going to have time to go get stuff done as well. So
as a CISO, when I go to these conferences, I'm always looking to pick other smart people's brain and make connections. So we definitely put that into consideration when we put the program together.
And we will have sponsors there for you to talk to, but we're trying to keep that low too, so they're not beating you about the head and shoulders and stuff. So
not only keep that low, but to sponsors that CISOs have asked about or want to catch up with their technologies. And so we've already got some great ones that are interested in the process of signing up, and we're getting more. So, but that would be limited. So it's not like we're going to have 100 sponsors. So the sponsors that are going to be there are going to be ones you want to talk to.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining. This has been great. Hope everybody gets out of this. Please, again, if you got questions about it, there's a contact form on the site. Ask us about it. But if you want to go apply, remember it's a 2-step process. If you get accepted, we really want to get folks in there. It's not going to be a huge event, so make sure you apply soon so we can not have to tell you no just because we don't have enough room. So we need you to get in there. Mark, Kyle, any parting thoughts?
No, well, we look forward to the conference. We're excited. It is in July 18th. We set that date for specific reasons, not conflicting with July 4th schedules, but we do have great speakers and continue to add to that. So the topics are going to be spot on for CISOs. So we're looking forward to seeing everyone there.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to build this community.
Awesome. Sam, anything else from your side, sir?
Yeah, go tickets for HOU.SEC.CON are up for sale. Go get your tickets, and VIP tickets sell out. That's for the September one, but looking forward to seeing everybody.
Same here. Well, Mark, Kyle, again, thank you for helping out with EXEC.SEC.CON and getting that all done. I'm really excited about it. Everybody, thanks for being on episode 14, and we will see you on episode 15 and not too long. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Guys.